2,000 years ago, there lived a man who made the greatest impact on human history since the beginning of time. This man's life and claims are unparalleled to this day. This man was Jesus of Nazareth, and today I'd like to speak about his supposed resurrection from the dead. Now, in order to consider what we know about the resurrection events, we should first consider the documents that tell us what we know about the resurrection events. Most, but not all, of the information we know about the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth comes from the Bible's New Testament. The New Testament was written around years 50 to 100 AD. Jesus was said to have died around year 33 AD, so the New Testament was written about 20 to 70 years after Jesus' death. Our earliest copy of the New Testament dates to about 130 AD, so that's within less than 100 years of the original documents. So the original documents were written, and our earliest copy is within 100 years of those original documents. Also, we have over 5,000 manuscripts of the New Testament. This chart just contrasts some of the other popular ancient authors like Homer, Aristotle. Homer's Iliad coming in second to the New Testament as far as attestability. But as we can see, the New Testament is by far the best attestable book in ancient history. There are 138,000 words in the New Testament, and 1,400 of those remain in doubt. Therefore, we can say that about 99% of the New Testament is identical to the original documents. It should also be said that the 1% that we are unsure of are all words such as but, the, or, and, words of little to no importance, so that absolutely no meaning has been lost from the text whatsoever. However, this does not go to show that what the New Testament says is true. It only goes to show that the New Testament, as we read it today, is at least 99% identical to the original documents. So for the remainder of the presentation, the New Testament will not be considered as inspired by God, but will be considered just the same as any other ancient document coming down to us from the first century. This is how the New Testament critics study the text, without assuming any reliability that would not be given to any other ancient text. New Testament critics, obviously by the title, are people that criticize the New Testament. So these are atheists, agnostics, and Christians alike. And there are actually several facts surrounding both Jesus' life and just the resurrection that are agreed on, well, events that are agreed upon as historical fact by the vast majority of New Testament critics. So I have it on here, just to get the poster back up. All right, I'm just gonna put it right here because I'm too short. Okay, that's embarrassing. Okay, fact number 1. Jesus was buried in a tomb by Joseph of Arimathea following Jesus' crucifixion. This is important because Joseph of Arimathea was actually a member of the Jewish council that condemned Jesus to death. So that means that not only did the Christians know where the tomb was, the Jews also knew where the tomb was, so that when the disciples ran around Jerusalem saying that the tomb was empty, the Jews could have easily went to the tomb and found out if the tomb was empty. And if it was not empty, they would have known. Fact number 2, Jesus' tomb was found empty by a group of his women followers the Sunday following his crucifixion. Number 3, on several occasions, different groups of people experienced appearances of Jesus alive from the dead. And fact number 4, Jesus' disciples actually believed that Jesus had risen from the dead. We know this because the disciples were threatened with death for claiming that the tomb was empty and that they had seen the risen Christ. However, when they were threatened with death, they did not renounce their claims and so save their lives. They were actually killed for their claims. Now, sure, people die every day for beliefs that may actually be false, but these weren't just beliefs. The disciples actually claimed to have physically seen Jesus with their eyes. So no rational person would die for something that they knew to be a lie. Now that we've established 4 facts surrounding the resurrection, we should consider what the best explanation of these facts might be. Historian C.B. McCullough lists 6 tests that historians use in identifying what the best explanation for a set of given historical facts might be. I'm not going to list all of them due to time constraints, but basically, 1, it must have great explanatory scope, 2, it must have great explanatory power, and so forth on to the 6th. Now, since the resurrection events, there have been a vast number of alternate explanations besides the resurrection hypothesis that have been set forth to explain the numerous facts that are established about the resurrection events. These include the stolen body theory, the swoon theory, the drugged body theory, the stolen body theory, which basically, well, obviously, most of the names are self-explanatory, the twin theory, the alien theory, which is weird. However, every single explanation that has been set forth for 2,000 years to try to explain away the facts explain the facts established about the resurrection has been nearly universally rejected by contemporary scholarship, and also failed to adequately meet all 6 tests. So the resurrection hypothesis is the only hypothesis that has actually adequately met all 6 tests and has not been universally rejected by contemporary scholarship. However, many scholars tend to remain agnostic, which means they say that they don't know what happened to Jesus of Nazareth, because to believe that he rose from the dead would imply that there's a God, and many people are unwilling to accept something like that. However, there is no other explanation that is plausible, so usually they will just say, I don't know what happened. In summary, we've established 4 facts concerning the resurrection events of Jesus of Nazareth, very briefly discussed a few explanations of those facts and their plausibility, and I'd like to conclude with a quote from N.T. Wright. He says, "That is why, as a historian, I cannot explain the rise of early Christianity unless Jesus rose, leaving an empty tomb behind him."